Temporary staffing is really the engine of our flexible economy, right? It lets businesses scale up or down whenever they need to. But underneath all that agility, there's a whole world of complexity, especially when you talk about workers' compensation insurance. So in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on this hidden challenge and really see what it takes to get this right. This quote from Risk Placement Services just says it all, doesn't it? It perfectly captures the high-stakes, almost revolving door nature of insuring the temp staffing industry. It is a really volatile market where even the big, experienced insurance carriers can get burned. So why is it so tough? And more importantly, how do you actually succeed? All right, here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll get a handle on the business itself. Then we'll dig into why it's such a headache for insurers. We're going to untangle this critical idea of the joint employer. And then, finally, we'll lay out a super clear playbook for how you can actually get the job done. Okay, first things first. We have to understand the business we're talking about. Because, the world of temp staffing isn't one size fits all. And the little differences between the types of agencies, well, they're actually a huge deal when it comes to risk. So a temp agency is probably what you first think of, right? Quick, short-term hires for things like seasonal work or filling in for an administrative assistant. A staffing agency, though, is playing a bit of a longer game. They're often doing temp to hire or even finding permanent placements in really specialized fields. And here's why that matters for insurance. Those high-turnover temp jobs might have a lot more small claims, while the specialized placements could have fewer claims, but when they happen, they're much more severe. And here is the absolute bottom line. For any company in this space, workers' comp isn't just another expense. It is often their second biggest cost, right after payroll. So it's mandatory, it's super expensive, and it is incredibly complicated. Okay, now let's flip the script. Let's look at this from the insurer side of the table. To really get to the solution, we have to first understand the underwriter's dilemma. What makes them so nervous about this industry?
Just look at this list. This perfectly illustrates the problem. See, unlike a regular business that does one thing, a staffing firm's risk is a constantly moving target. Every single new client could mean a totally different insurance class code. You've got high turnover, so there's often less experienced people on a job. And here's the kicker. The agency has no direct control over the safety of the workplace. That's all on the client. Plus, they're often putting people into high-risk jobs, which, naturally, leads to more claims.
Just think about that for a second. An agency could be placing office admins on Monday and then construction laborers on Tuesday. That single phone call completely transforms the risk profile, which is exactly why underwriters have to look at these submissions with a magnifying glass. And this is why getting the classification right is so important. It's just non-negotiable. If you misclassify a worker's role, like say you code a manufacturing job as clerical work, the fallout is huge. You could be looking at a massive bill after an audit, or even worse, finding out a claim isn't even covered after someone's already been hurt. Okay, this brings us to what is probably the single most important legal idea in this whole thing, the joint employer doctrine. This is where things can get really tangled. It's the million-dollar question, isn't it? A temp worker gets injured at a client's facility. Who's on the hook? The staffing agency that hired them or the company where they were actually doing the work? The answer is, well, it's a little complicated. As far as OSHA and employment law are concerned, they are both considered joint employers. And what that means is that the responsibility for workers' safety is shared. It's not about passing the buck. Both of them have a legal duty to protect that temp worker. The best way to picture it is as a triangle of responsibility. You've got the staffing agency over here. They're the ones who actually buy the workers' comp policy. Then you have the host employer or the client. They're the ones controlling the job site, supervising the work, doing the day-to-day safety training. And the bridge holding it all together? That's the contract. It has to spell out exactly who is responsible for what. If it doesn't, you get these dangerous gaps in safety. So, knowing all of that, how does an agency actually get insurance? Well, it all comes down to decoding what the underwriter is looking for and then giving it to them in a really clear, complete package. And here it is. This is the checklist. This is the information they have to have. And notice, it's not just about the staffing agency itself, it's all about their clients. They need a list of every single client, what they do, and exactly what the temp workers are doing there. They need to see the contract, and they want to see the client's own safety record, their EMR, their OSHA logs, all of it. Transparency is absolutely key here. And this, right here, is why so many submissions get rejected. If the information is vague, or if there's stuff missing, the underwriter simply can't price the risk. And if they can't price it, they have to decline it. It really is that simple. Which brings us to our last section, the proactive playbook. Let's just walk through step by step how to build a submission that an underwriter can look at and say, yes, I can work with this.
It's really a 4-step process. 1. Gather every single detail about the client. I'm talking legal name, federal ID number, the whole 9 yards. 2. Get super specific about the job. General labor is not going to cut it. 3. Do your homework. Go on OSHA's website and look up the client's safety records. And 4. Don't guess the class code. Talk to the underwriter and get it confirmed before you finalize that policy.
And let's just highlight this again, the client service agreement. This document is your absolute best friend. It needs to be crystal clear, outlining exactly who is in charge of what, from providing safety gear to running safety meetings. This isn't just a piece of paper. It is a critical risk management tool. You know, in the end, it all comes down to this simple idea. The proactive, detailed work you do on the front end will save you a world of hurt on the back end. When you give the underwriter a complete, accurate picture of the risk, you take away the uncertainty. And that's what prevents declinations, audits, and all those other nasty surprises. So we'll end with this question to think about. The gig economy, the flexible workforce, this is only getting bigger. This isn't some small niche problem anymore. It's a central part of how our economy works now. The old ways of managing risk just aren't going to cut it. So the real question is your strategy evolving fast enough to keep up?